Hi, everyone. Welcome back to GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for kicking off your Friday afternoon with us here. Would like to thank former State Representative Ray Rickman for giving us big view. And now would like to thank GoLocal columnist Robert Whitcomb for coming into the studio. Let's kick off with Fane because
the interminable process where it takes longer here than anywhere in the world, including Uganda, to get anything approved. Yeah, I think Senate President, Rhode Island Senate President Ruggiero is very irritated by this thing, and they're going to change the rules to cut the layer. Was
the Assembly not part of the rulemaking process
of
how 195 was structured?
I think everybody in Providence should be reminded that's actually state land, not the city.
It is state land.
And now the Design Review Commission, the local thing, wants to stop it because it's too high. They say the program is too high, and I respect their views, their aesthetic views. Having said all that, it's a state project.
Well, you do know Design Review is non-binding, so they make a recommendation to the 195. It was quite emotional. I was there on Monday night. Folks had turned out. Few folks from the labor community there in support, but Ray Rickman, if you heard his editorial, was talking about
his vicious editorial.
was talking about the need for skyscrapers, and actually talking with some folks who said that it should be used for park as its intended purpose. He mentioned the number of parks in Providence that are barely kept afloat, and then also the folks who didn't like the architectural aesthetic. He shot back, tell me your favorite architectural style.
Yeah, right. What's your favorite style? Meanwhile, we're looking up through the windows here at this crumbling industrial.
And it is crumbling. It is crumbling.
Literally crumbling. It's going to fall on you. I have a feeling within a couple of years it'll be torn down.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Which will be sad.
It will needs to still go to final review from Fane.
I think everything should be rigorously reviewed. It's got to be speeded up if you want any new business here, and you've got to cut the layers. There are too many layers. The layered effect may be good in fashion, but not in public policy.
Speaking of public policy, let's talk a little bit about the Wyatt Detention brouhaha.
It never stops, right?
Started up once again when Central Falls Mayor James DeYosa said that they would not be taking the latest round of ICE detainees. GoLocal reported he had previously lobbied for them because this means money for Wyatt and hence money for Central Falls.
Well, how many employees over there? It's basically jobs.
It is a lot of jobs.
If they turned it into a hotel, there'd be even more jobs.
I don't think there's going to be a Wyatt Detention hotel.
You could walk there, stay there, get off the new train station serving.
Well, there is that hotel in Boston that was previously the jail.
Charles Street Jail. It looks like the Bastille. Yeah. It's a great place. I have fond memories going there to visit my friends when they were inmates.
Well, I think the fascinating thing about the Wyatt brouhaha is the bondholders and the bondholders' legal counsel really going for the jugular, now filing.
Take a joke.
Filing suit this week against Central Falls and naming a number of other individuals as well, saying that the bondholders are in a precarious position. So,
to say the least, yeah. It's like, at this point, it's like czarist war bonds.
So we'll see what ends up happening.
I don't think there's a big secondary market for those bonds.
Clearly, the mayor has a very personal political stance about it, and the bondholders have another. So it'll be interesting to see how this ends up getting rectified if it does. Right. Let's go from local politics to a national, and actually staying on the theme of immigration, the revelation, I believe it was yesterday, of the Trump administration.
Outrageous. You're going to stick it to sanctuary cities by sending all these illegals to overwhelm the sanctuary cities as revenge against the Democrats. But to say this is unethical is an understatement.
But does this surprise you?
No, nothing does anymore, as you know. You know my views on this.
Nothing surprises you ever.
My problem with the Trump administration, as you know, it's not even policies. It's just character. It's unbelievably corrupt, but chaotic. I mean, thank God it's chaotic. Because if we're really disciplined in this corrupt,
disciplined and corrupt,
a real problem. Yeah. I mean, it's a sort of badly run banana republic, and he's talking about naming Ivanka to run the World Bank because she's good with numbers.
Well, I believe Herman
She's good with
Cain
numbers,
is
yeah.
taking his name out
Yeah,
of
the pizza
consideration
guy,
for the Fed.
Sexual abusing pizza modal. Yeah, and then the guy Steve, what's his name, Moore, whom I know a little bit.
He's now on the could be on the Fed. Yep.
What he owes, how much money to the feds? He owes a whole pile of money to the feds, and like 300 grand for child support.
That I did not know. I did have the
It's a
opportunity
total hack,
to
total
interview
hack,
him
yeah.
in his Trumponomics book when he was here in
It's
Providence.
ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
So apparently, Steve Bannon had some quote in the last couple of days that it was, if Trump wins in 2020, it will be Trump off the leash. So
That's comforting.
meaning it will be, I guess,
That's right. That's
payback central if it isn't
tremendous.
already.
So, but Bannon said this, hopefully, right, that he'll be elected and the trains will all run on time.
We shall see.
It's going to be. He could win too. Again, it mostly depends on the economy. There is a rough consensus now. The recession starts next year, but who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah.
What are we going to read this weekend?
Well, I'd say something about the state contracts. Usually at the end of economic cycles, when things have been pretty good, the legislature, usually quietly, somewhat with more noise this year, throws a lot of stuff to the public employee unions. This year, it's the firefighters getting overtime over 42 hours. The federal standard, by the way, is 53 hours. The other thing is sort of perpetual contracts.
I talked about both with the speaker yesterday.
Perpetual contracts, wherein the existing contracts, even though after they officially expire, would continue.
Just keep going.
Would keep going forever.
So you're going to opine on both of these.
But that would substantially reduce the leverage in the municipalities in negotiating with these people. This almost always happens. I've seen this time and time again, not just in Rhode Island. Times have been fairly good, and they sort of think they can get away with it. Then a recession comes, tax revenues plunge, and then whack. It's then there's a lot of outrage. I will say this, so I can slide in most previous examples of this all happens at about 3 a.m. on June 29th. Nobody knows what's
it does.
In the dark of night, they slide special pension benefits in. They slide all the special interest stuff. And I think things have gotten better in that we know about this. We're only in April, and there's time to make a lot of noise, even though I assume this is a done deal.
We shall see. So what else we got this weekend?
Well, I also talk about how congestion pricing is coming to Boston eventually, starting in New York. It's got to come to Boston because Boston's more congested than New York. You know that? I talk about Einstein, how the word Einstein and genius are almost synonymous. And I think the black hole is another example. The general theory open the door to the possibility of black holes. He then pulled back and said, well, it's so bizarre. Maybe it couldn't be true, but in fact it's been proven.
Yeah.
So his speculations in the early 20th century, without the equipment that we have now, without even some of the mathematical tools we have now, just shows you what a genius he was. Even if the black hole, the image of it looked like a bagel covered with orange sauce.
What are you going to do?
Okay, and I talk about the Sacklers and Tufts University shilling for the Sacklers, which is very unfortunate. And I complain that the Red Sox season is too long.
I thought you were going to say
they're going to lose.
I thought you were going to say it's already over.
Well, the mania is already, the paranoia is already kicked in, because they've done badly over the last week or two. And my reaction to this is there's still snow in the White Mountains. Why does the season start so early?
Okay, shorter baseball season and more. You'll have to read Robert Whitcomb on Sundays every week on GoLocal Prov. So, Robert Whitcomb, thank you for coming in.
That's great.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back here on GoLocal Live.